What you will hear in this book is a faith that, if you lean into it with an open mind and heart, will mark your life with a trust that only God can give when that day comes for you. Maybe that day is now. If not, I assure you that day is coming. Lean in. Chapter 1. A Morning's Run, 2018. My alarm, with a persistent urgency, woke me from a deep sleep at 5:30 a.m. I was still tired and sleeping in an unfamiliar bed, but I knew I should keep up my normal morning routine and take a run to get the day started. Over the years, I learned that running will do me more good than simply rolling over and getting a little more sleep. So I climbed out of the bed and felt my feet come to rest on the cold hardwood floor. That sensation jolted me awake, and I pressed the button on my phone to keep it quiet so I wouldn't wake my wife, Wynter, who continued to sleep soundly. She was not a morning person. If I woke her early in the morning, she'd let me know it with no uncertain terms that she was not very happy about it. After just over 15 years of marriage, I'd managed to learn that lesson. When you love someone, you honor their desires, such as hers to sleep soundly through the early morning hours. I closed the door to the bathroom and flipped on the light, then scrolled through the notifications that had come into my phone during the last 7 hours. Most of them didn't seem important, but one of them caught my attention. It read, "Do you have an exit strategy?" Not wanting to take the time to read right then, I made a mental note to check it out later. I had an interest in helping ministries transition leaders well, and I assumed the article had to do with leadership transitions. Little did I know how much this question would haunt and inform the days that followed. In almost every way, it seemed like a normal Tuesday morning. As I pulled out my running clothes, I looked for some music to accompany me on my run. Just the motivation I needed to get me out the door. It was still dark and the route wouldn't be familiar. Our family was staying in the home of Wynter's cousin while we awaited the last pieces to come into place for our move from Dallas, Texas to Franklin, Tennessee. Wynter's first cousin, Priscilla Shire, is a well-known Bible teacher and conference leader, one of many in the Evans clan to commit themselves to public ministry. Priscilla had been kind enough to let us crash at her house while we made the final preparations for our big move. This kindness is typical for Priscilla, who we just call Scylla. To our kids, she's Auntie Scylla. The Evans family had become as close to us as though they were immediate family. Priscilla is like a sister to me. Dr. Evans and his late wife Lois are like a spiritual mom and dad. And their 3 other kids, Crystal, Anthony, and Jonathan, are like siblings as well. Our kids had grown up with theirs, and leaving them behind would be the most difficult part of our journey. Our house had already sold, so it was great to have a comfortable place to finalize all the preparations for the move and prepare our hearts for the transition. It would be a big change in our lives. We'd lived in Dallas for most of our married life, and I had worked as an executive director for Dr. Tony Evans' ministry, The Urban Alternative. Dr. Evans was my boss, and Wynter was the daughter of his baby brother. I'd loved my time with the ministry, enjoyed rising to all the new challenges, and believed I had a significant impact, but now sensed it was time to move on when I was offered a pastoral position in a large family of churches in Tennessee called Church of the City. I felt called to be a part of what was happening there, and God had made it clear that my family story was supposed to merge with theirs. I closed the back door as quietly as I could in order to not wake my family, and let my eyes adjust for a minute to the pitch blackness outside. Then, knowing that I needed to pay careful attention to where I was going, I started down the winding road of the country neighborhood in which our guest home was located. Even in the daytime, we had to be careful about driving these twisting roads, with their deep ditches that flanked each side of the narrow road, made even more hazardous by the trees, mailboxes, and floorboard fences that crept into the spaces where I was now running. So jogging along while it was still dark made it even more important to be extra careful. That morning, any anxiety about the big changes ahead was dwarfed by a feeling of peace and contentment. Our 14 years in Texas, which accounted for nearly all our years together, had been good ones. With 3 of our 4 kids being born in Dallas, slowly but surely we'd become Texans. Even in our leaving, we all sensed that wouldn't change. The great state of Texas was a part of us, and its expansive borders opened our imaginations wider for what lay ahead. It was hard to say goodbye, but we knew our close connection with family would always be there, even across however many miles separated us. 2 days earlier, we had celebrated a birthday with the extended family, and it was a magical afternoon, though it contained a twinge of sadness.